We use money every day of our lives, but with runaway inflation, things like modern monetary theory, and the past few years where we saw a rapid explosion of the cryptocurrency scene, one has to wonder, just what is money anyway? Is it really just a simple currency that we use instead of bartering? This is the context, and in today's episode, we're going to look at money, its past and its possible future. Money has no value on its own. And money as we understand it first emerged about 5,000 years ago in Mesopotamia in the form of a shekel. The common understanding is that before money, people used to barter, and money simply emerged as a more simple form for trade. Gold and silver, the two most popular currencies in the public mind associated with money, only emerged around 600 and 650 BC. Modern currency, as we know it, also known as banknotes, first appeared in China in the 11th century, and they became dominant only by the 20th century after Richard Nixon decided to unpin the dollar from the gold standard.
I'm just yanking your chain, Leo.
Let's stop there for a moment. Fiat money is basically when a government declares that a given currency counts as a legal tender. That means public debt is payable in that currency, and only in that currency. Interestingly enough, there's an alternative to the barter theory. Barter theory says that money emerged to make trade more efficient as opposed to directly bartering goods. The other one, proposed by David Graeber among others in his book Debt, the First 5,000 Years, says that money emerged for a different reason. It emerged in the age of empires, because the empire's standing army would march long distances. But how would you get merchants of different territories to actually service your army? The solution was not just money, but taxes.
Ben, where's all your money gone, Daddy?
Taxes.
According to Graeber, money emerged to counter that problem. The emperors could declare that they demand a yearly payment of taxes and only accept the kind of currency which has their heads printed on it. This allowed for their armies to be serviced by the local merchants because now they had to accept whatever money the army was carrying. That is to say, money is a form of debt. It's something that you owe your government. It's kind of like a physical IOU. But the point is, it has no value on its own. It only has value because your government wants you to pay your taxes in that currency.
Hello, and welcome to the Church of F*** You. I'm St. Patrick. Well, I have compiled minutes and minutes of research to come up with the top reasons, well not really the top, but the 5 reasons mostly used by people as to why they hate the government.
Modern economies are less reliant on the central bank printing money. This is due to fears of runaway inflation. Instead, typically, the federal banking system sets central interest rates, and in turn, the retail banking system issues loans at those interests. Most of the money in circulation is basically created as a form of credit by these banks. Which brings us to cryptocurrencies. If you remember the founding myth of Bitcoin and all of the others, the main idea behind it is decentralization. That it's not tied to a central bank controlling the supply. Supply is instead controlled by a process called as mining, and the miners earn a fee. The idea behind it was that by eliminating the centralized ecosystem of the modern payment system, we'll get lower transaction fees. And yet, even though Bitcoin has been already with us for over a decade, and there's a million other cryptocurrencies in circulation, there's no notable goods which are being sold in cryptocurrencies. In fact, the main use case seems to be to buy and to hold and to sell when it's high. We've heard of all the notorious pump and dump scams that have been happening, which is basically a bunch of people getting together, hyping up the value of a given currency, and then leave with a bunch of money, leaving a bunch of people with empty bags. Cryptocurrency is so volatile precisely because there's no centralized actor setting the interest rate and there's no real exchange of goods. And the third idea behind it was that it's a store of value, meaning that you can avoid paying taxes with it. But as we can see, that might just run contrary to the very idea of money as debt. And that brings us to central bank digital currencies. While there's a lot of conspiracies around them, what's more interesting is why would the centralized players be interested in a solution that was originally meant to solve decentralized payments? But all of these are extremely volatile, which shows they're not much of a currency as a speculative investment vehicle, with many people becoming crypto millionaires over the past few years and many others going broke. Interestingly enough, cryptocurrencies were good at one thing, that is, replacing cash in businesses where you would only want to use cash.
Hello, and welcome to the Los Pollos Hermanos family. My name is Gustavo, but you can call me Gus.
The dark side of the cryptocurrency scene is that it was mostly used in darknet markets, dealing drugs, arms, and other shady stuff related to money laundering. Which brings us to another interesting problem. What's happening with cash? You see, especially after the last 2 years, there was a mass adoption, not only of digital payments, but also no-touch payments. One sometimes feels that even the homeless people are running around with payment service terminals. There's a massive drive for societies to become cashless, and of course, this would mean that money would become nothing more than a number on a screen. We can understand the government rationale behind it. If all economic activity is digitally traceable, that would mean that the black markets and illegal money movements would be almost all but eradicated. On the other hand, this is driving concerns that such a system would allow for so much power that a malicious entity could use it to build out totalitarian control, be it a government or an intergovernmental entity, using money as a weapon. Which is totally happening, by the way. On the other hand, the mass adoption of such digital currencies could lead to a world where instead of buying stuff transaction by transaction, you would rather have subscriptions to a bunch of different services, be it food delivery, transportation services, kind of like a rentier economy. This would do away with the messy world of paying transaction by transaction. Instead, we would have different pockets reserved for different services which would automatically withdraw their fees, making the economy all that much more fluid. We don't know what the future will bring and how this will play out. There's a lot of ideas on how to innovate money, but the fundamentals will always remain the same, that money is some sort of a debt, chiefly service to your government. Whether it's digital will change the nature of the game, it's tough to say. But in the meanwhile, be careful of people trying to sell you a horse that doesn't exist. Thank you for watching The Context. I was your host, Gergő Varga, and I hope to see you soon. The crystal ball is revealing the future. I can see you in front of your screen. I can see your hands moving. I can see your mouse over the subscribe button.